As the final buzzer sounded on the Pistons' 2023 season, two die-hard fans, Mickey and Harry, each passed out and witnessed a vision. They were visited by Detroit's very own mascot, Hooper, the stallion ablaze, who told them the only way the Pistons would ever win a championship again was if these two men started a podcast. To be clear, they said, do we really have to do this? I mean, aren't there enough Pistons podcasts already? It seems like this might be overkill. But Hooper dunked on them, right in their face, and said, your team needs you. He presented them with a prophecy. Now it is their duty to help Detroit rise again and become champions. The Order of the Blazing Horse. Welcome back to another brand spanking hot new episode of The Order of the Blazing Horse, the only Detroit Pistons podcast based on a mystical prophecy. I am one of those prophets touched by a horse, not in a creepy way, always must iterate, not in a creepy way, in a very consensual, through the ether sort of way. In a
above board.
Above board, thank you. Above backboard, even. Harry Morris, joined as always by my co-prof. You heard him. He's all the way on the West Coast, but you heard him right here. Give it up for my man.
Mickey, Jacobs, and Harry. My juice levels are through the roof because we have a very, very special guest today. Why don't you break down his intro?
Our big man, Mr. Pulp, in here, all the pulp and the juice. This is a special gift for us. He's a great guy. If you're into the Pistons sphere of stuff, if you're in the Pistons you know this man. You follow this man. You might know him from the Detroit Bad Boys, or maybe you follow him on the socials at Laz Chance. Give it up for Laz Jackson, y'all.
Harry, Mickey, thank you both for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I gotta say, I wish I had been visited by Hooper in my dreams, right?
It's a blessing and a curse, Laz. It's a blessing and a curse. It's a burden, but it's one that we're happy to carry. It's a labor of love, right, Harry?
Well, everybody can't be prophets. I get it.
So true.
It doesn't end well for most prophets, but it did end well for us last season. We actually got a victory out of it. It was, truth be told, I was very skeptical about the whole thing. I used to do a lot of drugs. I thought it was a little bit of a flashback thing going on. But then we get to the playoffs. We have arguably the best first round series in a wonderful playoffs, I must say, which have now concluded. So it's great to have you on. Let's hit the first thing first. How did you feel about the finals? How did you feel about these teams? How do you feel about where we're at?
Yeah, I feel good about where the team is at. I expected Oklahoma City to win. I did not expect the series to go in that manner, but especially after the Halliburton injury, you kind of thought like this is the way it was going to go. The interesting thing about the Thunder to me is not only their youth, but the fact that like they have so much more in terms of assets to just like keep building on top of this roster. So it's like not only can you get internal development from guys like Chet and Jalen Williams who are like under 25, but it's like, oh yeah, we could just trade 4 first-round picks and like get somebody in. I was joking that if they lost that game 7, Sam Presti be crying in his car, like calling Giannis on his phone, like Draymond called KD after that game 7 in 2016. So like, yeah, like they could always do something like that. They had the report right today that OKC's trying to move into the top 10 of the NBA draft tomorrow on Wednesday. And it's like, why would you do that? Like if you're the other like teams, like why would you let them be better? But if they
cheap,
if you throw 3 first-round picks on their doorstep, like you got to have the meeting, right? So that was a big thing.
The way I can see why teams might let OKC do that is I've seen what Americans have let other Americans do with the dreams of grandeur and riches on their side, and it ain't worked well for us. But people get their eyes set, no big deal. Yeah. And the other thing I love about that whole idea of Sam Presti in his car crying if they lost, I imagine tears streaking down his face while he's bumping that hip hop jazz album that he had from
Milk Money
back in the day.
Money. Surprisingly like mediocre, like not awful from at that point like 29-year-old like white NBA exec, right? Mm-hmm. Like not bad. Not bad, Sam Presti. I wasn't familiar with your game.
The worst part about it, the name, but as a former hip hop artist of the Caucasian persuasion myself. I know those cringe ass names come pretty hardcore. My rap group back in the day, in like high school, was White Chocolate or White Chocolate 47 because there were 40 other 6 White Chocolates on MySpace at the time.
You got to stand out somehow.
Oh yeah, don't look us up. Lyrics are bad. Apologies in advance if you ever hear any of them all. But yeah, like big ups to him for that whole thing. And I'm with you. I thought OKC was going to win. That's a hell of a team. They're very well rounded, both offensively and defensively. They seem to know what they're doing. They're well run. They've been together for a little bit, and they have one of the top 3 players in the league on their team. Probably one of the top 2 players at this point in the league. Mickey, how'd you feel about that final?
I mean, it's like probably the most tragic way that could have possibly ended. So brutal. I think we all had OKC favored to win the series, but just an unbelievable Pacers run. And Pistons fans got a lot of weird feelings about the Pacers, a lot of them negative. And I have to say, for the sake of that finals run, they really won me over. And they played. There's a lot of players on that squad that I really like. I mean, Siakam had an amazing series. Nesmith, Nemby, of course, Tyrese, and yeah, just brutal. But I saw what he posted. He posted a long message to the fan. Yeah, it was really sweet though, and I think he's just like got a great head on his shoulders, and they'll come back better. And it was really fun. I love seeing 2 smaller markets in the finals, and I actually didn't watch as much of it as I would have liked to, but that was a crazy game, and yeah, I'm hoping for more parity in the league.
I mean, I think it's coming, right? Like the parity seems to just be going. As much complaints as people have about like the apron system and the CBA, it just seems to create new champions every year and get so many shakeups. And speaking of shakeups, where are we at right now? Like trades are they're dropping like chains out of hole in pockets, right? It's been so wild. It's dropping out like the toppings on a Little Caesars crusted pizza right here
deluxe
right here in Michigan. And also, before we get too deep into it, if you like Little Caesars, if you've been to a Little Caesars, maybe you'll like the Order of the Blazing Horse. So give us a like, give us a subscribe, turn on those notifications, give us a watch. We get great guests like Laz on here. It's free. We were trying to get as many subscribers as Malik Beasley hit 3s at the end of the season, but he went wild, and we ain't that wild.
It's a tough number. It's a tough number.
Big number.
It's a big number. Get us up to triple figgies. Just get us to triple figgies here right now. That's all we're looking for. So hop on in, enjoy the show. Thank you for being here. But let's talk about all the trade. I'm going to hit you lightning round, Vlad, with all the trades, all the signings. See if I can remember all of them, forget all of them. Let's start with the first big one. How'd you feel about the Des Bane trade?
So that was the scary one to me personally, because Orlando was a team that I was afraid of prior to this season, this past season for the Pistons, simply because like their size, right? Like that they're way too big to handle in a playoff setting. Like, yeah, their offense is completely busted, but they gave Boston trouble, and the Pistons weren't in Boston's class when Tatum was healthy, right? And now they have somebody who can keep that offense afloat, possibly make some open shots, or but I thought KCP could be that guy. So maybe there's just like something in the Florida water where like he'll get or Desmond Bane will get to Orlando and he'll shoot like 33% from 3, and it's just like all right, like you guys are just cursed. It is what it is.
NBA player becomes Florida man. The curse.
It's that Disney runoff. There's something. It's not good. Whatever. It's not just microplastics either. It's something.
Micro Pixars.
But like, I don't know. They worry me, especially after the press conference we had today, where Trajan was basically like, "Hey, last year was real cool. I hope you guys enjoyed last year. You're gonna get more of it next year."
Mm-hmm. Talk about keeping stuff close. It sounds like he says all the stuff you expect him to say without review. The only time he fought back about like giving me information was talking about extending and like where they value Duren and Ivy, where he said, "I'm never going to talk about that." Everything else was just like the answer you expect to hear out of him, right? Which is cool. I feel you can pull some stuff out of it. We'll get into that like a little bit later. But I'm with you. I agree. I think Orlando got a lot more dangerous, and they were injured last year too. So that's like a double hit for them to move forward. A lot like the Pistons had 2 years ago. They had that losing streak. They had the bad coaching. They had injuries. And then you have this double whammy to move forward where it looks like crazy good progress. I will say that one more 3-point shooter does not make them an okay 3-point shooting team. So they really need to draft on that. And that team as a whole was shooting terribly. So even if you have one more guy, that's great, but you got to keep going forward with it. So we'll see how it goes. They do have a good draft pick. Maybe they'll trade out of it and get some other ones. Who knows? Mickey, how'd you feel about that trade?
I like the fit for them. He can be on ball. He can be off ball. He's a solid defender. And I just feel like he's a dog too. Like he fits in their mentality. It was like, we talked about it a little bit, like truly a Mikal Bridges-esque haul that they traded for him. So I hope for their sake, I hope if I was them, I would hope it works out because you blew a lot of resources on that. And I get the fear, Laz, like they kind of had our number in the regular season. Like Franz like went off on us. Like Paulo's hit some daggers. Like they're not just big. They're tough defensively. Like they've got that like Pistons kind of edge.
Yeah.
And like we love having that edge, but we don't love playing other teams that have that edge.
Yeah.
And it's nerve-wracking. It's nerve-wracking. Where are you at on it, Harry?
I think they're a great team. I think they're going to be a force. I think they'll be a top 4 team in the East. Who knows how high they'll be, but they have potential to be truly up there with Indiana not having Haliburton for all next season. Who knows how good they'll be with, I don't know what's up with the Knicks. Like, I truly don't know what they're going to look like, but they still don't have a coach, right?
They still do not have a coach.
They're just asking everybody's mom to be their coach at the whole point.
James Borrego, maybe James Borrego will be the coach. Like who he's CCAA. Like who knows?
Who knows? So like, and also I just feel like the Pistons could have beat the Knicks in the playoffs last year. It was a tough fight. Like we were the more injured team. That's how it goes. They had a lot of the breaks go their way. That's another thing that like happens for them. I feel like they started as a hot commodity and then kind of fell off. So I don't have much faith in the Knicks next year, even though I think OG's a dude and I think Brunson's very good offensively. And I think Cat's pretty good offensively. I just worry about like their depth and development. I don't think they'll finish as high as they are. Boston, they lost Tatum, probably out for the whole year, and they're dismantling their team. They still have Brown. They still have White. We'll get into some of the trades they did in a little bit. Cleveland's still good. Same team. They're going to be great. So what is that? They have the potential to be like a top 3 team. And Detroit has the potential to move up as well, and Atlanta could be better. They're just teams on the rise are the younger teams who are adding, and the teams on the downfall are teams that seem to add last year and are now losing players. So that's where I'm at with them. Here's what I liked about the Bane trade. He plays offense and defense. And I think that's part of the reason that both him and Bridges got the haul of picks. I think the NBA is finally starting to recognize that being a star player to some extent isn't necessarily as valuable as being a very good player on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, it's an individual fit for this team, right?
Right.
The Knicks desperately needed another like wing filler so that they didn't have to play like Josh Hart and Dante DiVincenzo at the same time and like be small against the Bostons of the world. And Orlando like needed a guy who could put up 9 threes a game at over 40% and like still fit their defensive identity, right? That was the thing that was always like, I don't see how they trade for like a Simons or like a Malik Monk or something like that, because then that like opens up an avenue for you to attack on defense, which is like the antithesis of what they want to do. And so it's like, yeah, this guy can, like you guys have mentioned, he can play both sides of the ball and contribute as a shooter. Like that's pretty much exactly what they needed. So they were willing to like quote unquote overpay for it.
Yeah. And that's to me, the overpay, who knows? I mean, you got rid of KCP, right? And he was what they were attempting to do with him, get a two-way player to do that. He just didn't turn out to be that, and he turned out to be expensive. So now you got to throw in a pick to get rid of him. You're essentially paying 3 picks for Des Bane. That's not that bad. It's really not that bad in the grand scheme of things. To get a guy who's a proven dude, who's been able to prove it that he can do it by himself and with other people. So
he's on their timeline too. I think there's a lot to be said for that. Like to be able to grow with them, to be like, all right, we've got our big 3 kind of figured out. And like everything around that we'll figure out later.
And they already have young players on top of it too. So it's not like they have to draft young guys to fit the mold. They have Tristan da Silva. They have Anthony Black. The guy they got out of Michigan is not like really playing at all. Howard. Thank you, Jet. My bad to the Howard family and all that. I know you're legendary.
They're watching.
They also drafted
Caleb
Houston, right? So like is both. But yeah, I get what you meant.
So like, They're watching they're here.
Oh,
I don't want to get
we're gonna get
Howard's way.
we're gonna get some thumbs downs from the
Oh,
Howard
no.
fam.
Sending
Yeah.
us. Okay, so let's move to the next big trade, which actually doesn't affect our conference at all, but it does, I think, affect some title chances for teams, like shake things up, maybe add a little competition to OKC. Kevin Durant from Phoenix to the Houston Rockets for Jalen Green, the number 10 pick, and Dylan Brooks. How'd you feel about that, Laz?
Man, when you say it out loud, it still sounds kind of ridiculous, right? Like you traded Kevin Durant for Jalen Green, who Phoenix like openly can't flip somewhere else at this time. The number 10 pick, which is like a good pick, but like it's not 4 picks. It's not 3 picks.
It's not even one of their own picks.
Swaps.
Yeah.
Like,
right?
It's not Phoenix's own 2027 pick.
Mm-hmm.
And like Dylan Brooks, who is gonna fight someone, right? Like let's be real. Like that team is not gonna Phoenix is not gonna win that many games, and Dylan Brooks is gonna be pissed. And he's gonna fight somebody, and it's gonna be hilarious. But yeah, no, so from Phoenix's perspective, like that was awful. Like congratulations, like Matt Ishbia, this is my plea to you. Like, hey man, like you're a Spartan like alum. Like the football facility could like really use some upgrades. Like I know you play basketball. The Breslin Center has been around a super duper long time. It's like if you wanted to break ground on like the new Ishbia Center, like maybe we can make that shit happen. But bro, like you don't have to do this. Like there are other ways to spend your money. I promise you.
That dude does love to burn green and go white for sure. Out in Phoenix, it's man. When the first big three in Phoenix happened, I was like, this dude is out of his fucking mind if he thinks this is gonna work. And there hasn't been a good move since. Like
Nope.
it's just so nuts over there.
They drafted Ryan Dunn. It was like, okay, like that was pretty good. And then like everything else has just been like, I have no clue what they're doing. Yeah.
It's wild. Mickey, go ahead. Oh, last.
No, but for Houston, like I like it a lot, right? You didn't have to even part with like a Cam Whitmore or Reed Shepard or Jabari Smith Jr. or Tari Eason to get Kevin Durant. And I really liked, again, we're talking about like young physical teams in that like Orlando mold. Like Houston did a lot of that last season, but watching their playoff series against the Warriors, they so desperately just needed somebody who could put the ball in the basket at the end of games.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, hey, Fred VanVleet, you want to shoot this 30-footer? Like, please? And like, hey, Şengün, do you want to get mauled by Draymond Green? And like, we're not going to call it because it's the playoffs, but also like, you should be able to score on, like, if you're as big and bad as we think you are, like, you should be able to score like some buckets on Draymond Green. Nope, nothing. Okay, cool. Hey, Jalen Green, would you like to do anything at all? Please, anything. Give us something. No? Okay, cool.
He's like, I got you once. And then all the other games combined to that once. Man, looking back on Jalen Green's playoff scoring was insane. Just like absolutely insane. Like 4 single-digit games or 5 single-digit games, the 37-point game and an 11-point game. Like,
yeah,
bro.
Yeah, and so KD, like, you could rest KD for the first 4 months of the year. Like, hey, like, get everything right. And it's like, all right, like, just score buckets for us in the last 4 minutes of games. Like, pretty please. That's all you gotta do. Like, we can surround you with defense. They might need like another point guard or so. Maybe they give the ball to Amen. Maybe Fred VanVleet stays, and like maybe they figure out something else. Maybe that's Reed Shepard's music, right? Mm-hmm. So like maybe they need a little bit more initiation. But like, yeah, at the end of games, it's like, hey, KD, top 15 player of all time, over 25,000, or he has over 25,000 points, I think. Yeah. I was like, yeah, like, can you take us home? And he's like, yeah, sure. So like everybody wins. It works.
It's a huge win for me for Houston. You didn't give up any of your prized possessions. You didn't give up any of your prized picks. What were you gonna do with that 10th pick this year anyway? Like, you ain't drafted a big. People are talking about like potentially Carter Bryant if he's around, but you already have those wings. You have Tari Eason, you have Amen Thompson, you have Jabari. Like, why? So you're gonna sit in the G League or something like that, or take Kevin fucking Durant, who's still playing at like an all NBA level? People talk about like his injury history. He played 62 and 75 the last 2 years. That's nuts. His big thing is shooting. That ain't going anywhere. He's one of the best shooters in history. He plays a position of need. Now if you keep Fred, you got 2 dudes with championship winning experience, not just being there, but championship winning experience. And now all these young dudes have playoff experience. That team is going to be fucking nasty next year. They were the number 2 seed. Like, it's going to be very good for them. Mickey, your thoughts on it?
There's so much to like about it from the Houston side. I was jotting stuff down because I didn't want to lose track. Okay, first of all, you have KD mentoring Bari. That's going to be great. Like, that's probably exactly what he needs. They've never had a player with, like, even if KD's not like filling it up, like, you know, super efficiently, just the gravity that he commands. Like, they've never had a player who has that. He and FVV both have like championship pedigree. They're both solid defenders. Like, it's not even like they sacrificed their identity, because you've got Amen, Fred, KD played pretty solid defense last year. I feel like Şengün's okay. Like, I mean, we'll really see how essential Dylan Brooks was to what they did. But like, I would be shocked if you know, they're serious in the West now. And yeah, there's a lot to love about it. And I credit Ishbia for just always insisting that like everybody wants to be in his position. Like, I remember after the big 3 thing failed the first time, he was like, we're still like, no, there's there's like 2 other teams that wouldn't want to have what we have. But that's like, I love, you know, players need irrational confidence. I guess execs do too. So, you know, keep doing those mental gymnastics. You know, he's an athlete in his own right. But yeah, it's crazy.
Ishbia is the startup team owner. It seems like he's got that sort of mentality about him. Before we move off the Durant trade, I want to come to KD's defense about one thing. This mindset that the dude is a merc, like just a mercenary switching teams. He's 37 years old. He's been in the league for what, like 17 years, 18 years? He's just about to join his 5th team. That's one team every 4 or 5 years. That ain't that crazy. It's really not that crazy. You're on a situation with Oklahoma City. You made it to the championship. They had to make some decisions, and he's like, you know what? I'm going to go win a championship. He had an opportunity to play with the best. Why the fuck wouldn't you? Like, that's insane to me that you wouldn't want to go play with like Steph and Clay at that point. Win your championships. Okay, now everyone's giving me shit because I can't do it on my own or do my own team and lead the horse. I'll go to Brooklyn. People want to come play with Brooklyn with me. Terribly ill-advised team over there. Just like wild, bad stuff. That didn't work out. Good. You get out. You go to another team. That team's just a fucking shit show. Big deal. Now you're on to this final good portion. Is that crazy a trajectory? Does that really feel like he's leaving teams in the lurch? It doesn't feel that wild to me.
No, it's not crazy.
And in this case, by the way, I mean, he got traded. Like, it's not like he like just was. I mean, I think he was more or less asking out, but like it seemed mutual. I feel like anyone still harboring KD hate is like, you got to just move on. Like, he's so funny. He's so good. Like, he just wants to play meaningful hoops, and he's been good everywhere he's gone. Like, it's just, I don't know. I think that whole like, oh, he left OKC for like, that's so long ago now. Like, we gotta move on.
It's so put 2012 or whatever year that was, which is a fun term to rank. All right, Laz, one last question on KD before we move back. Is he better at basketball or at Twitter?
Twitter. He's 100% better at Twitter. 1,000% better at Twitter.
He fucking crushes. The dude's
a testament. Yeah.
And if you're not following Laz on Twitter, at Laz Jackson on Twitter.
He's on the Mount Rushmore of Twitter.
Let's move on to let's get some more quick ones. This one's just a deal. Actually, no, I'm gonna stick to the deal because that'll pertain more to the Pistons. We'll talk more trades that are just NBA stuff first, and we'll get into the Pistons stuff in a little bit. Next week, talk about happened, I believe, last night. Drew Holiday for Anthony Simons and 2 second-round picks.
Yeah, Boston. We were talking a little bit about this pre-show. I don't know what's going on with Boston, man. I have no clue what Boston's going to look like in the East next season. And Portland, I enjoyed watching Portland on League Pass towards the end of the last season. Like, did they win? Like, they were fine. They made like a slight, like kind of late, like play-in push that was a little fake, but like they really defended and they were very fun to watch. I think Drew will be really good for them, both from like a leadership perspective, like in the locker room and like on court, giving them like a defensive guard in the way that, because they didn't have Matisse Thybulle last year, they like just didn't really like have for the most part. It was a lot of Shaden Sharp and Anthony Simons, who is not a good defender. Neither one of those dudes are good defenders. It's a lot of Scoot, who like tries but is short. And so it's like, the efforts of Donovan Clingan and Denny Abdia and Toumani Camara, all defense, second team Toumani Camara, by the way, like went for naught on occasion. But yeah, Portland's going to be very interesting to me. Like their next logical step is to get off the Jeremy Grant contract. I don't know who like can convince themselves they need a Jeremy Grant.
90% of Pistons fans.
Is it that high?
It's way higher than it has any business being.
Are they that high?
I don't
Hey, weed's
know.
cheap here, man.
It's possible. But yeah, and then so Portland's interesting, and Boston's might just be like fun to watch, but like not great next year. Just like all threes, like all gas, no breaks. Like we are playing 130 possessions a game. We are getting these threes up, and like that's what it is. So when they won the finals against Dallas, that was one of the least entertaining like from a basketball perspective, like finals I've ever seen, and it was because like it took me like a month to come up with this. Like watching that Celtics team play felt like watching like someone else pull a slot machine. Are we gonna make a three? Are we gonna make a three? It's like, are we gonna make a three? It's like, yeah. It's like, all right. It's like, are we gonna make a three? It's like, this isn't fun, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like the process, but it's like, oh yeah, they're scheming it up. It's drive and kick. Like, yeah, I understand it conceptually. Just like I understand like pulling the slot machine, like the odds are like set at like you win like 90% of what you put in. Like, sure, fine, over the long run, whatever. But like, is it fun? Like, no. Craps is fun. Blackjack is fun. Slot machines aren't fun.
I love that analogy. I also love craps as compared to those games. But speaking of crap, I don't know what Boston. No, it's, I get what they're doing, but it really feels like they're punting on this year. And like to their credit, like long game, they moved off Drew's money. Simons expires next year, so they'll have flexibility to do whatever when Tatum comes back. But I agree. I think like sacrificing the defense, and we'll get into the other trade too, because when he's healthy, Kristaps is a really good rim protector. But yeah, if they're just spamming threes the whole time, like I don't think it's gonna work, especially without the defense that they had. But yeah, it to your point, like it went from 3-and-D to just threes. And I don't think that's going to cut it. And I thought it was really disappointing even this season, like before Tatum got hurt. Like they're way too talented and athletic to just keep cranking the handle, as you said. Like they have so many more options. And like I know they can create open looks that way, but they can also drive. And they like I'm so scared of Tatum with a full head of steam. I'm so scared of Jaylen Brown with a full head of steam. I will say I'm very interested to see sort of what Brown does as the head of the snake, because like with him kind of having the reins here, like that could be really interesting. I don't know if he's like that dude, but like if he is, that'd be really impressive. Also, just like always going to be a big Derek White fan. And last thing, I was creeping on that Celtics Reddit, and they were talking about how we were talking about this a little before show, but just Simons has never like played with that many players. Like he should get open looks. Like Brown has gravity, White has gravity. Like that should provide a lot. But I think he's a bit of a cone. Like I definitely I can see them like hovering around 500 for a while.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting with how they do have talent. They have offensive talent. There's no doubt about it. And like the East is still top heavy, no matter how you cut it. Full disclosure, I said I think they'd still be top half. I did not say top four. I gotta clear that up. Top half.
All right. I'm glad we cleared it up.
I appreciate the clarification as well.
No problem. I do think that Boston did a great job of getting return for Drew. You got a player that you can see, let's see what he's got. Let's see what we can do in this system who does fit their system of shooting threes. And they got picks on top of it. So they got picks plus a player who used to have value, a younger player who used to have value, for an aging player on a contract they were dying to get out of, who had a down year for them offensively.
Yeah.
Like,
and who's aging.
Exactly. Like, love Drew. And Drew's incredible for championship runs and for playoff experience. I mean, he's done it twice, right? He did it with the Bucks, he did it with Boston. Like, just that sort of experience in turning Portland around. I know people are like, the West is so good. The West is also volatile. Like, things happen in the West. And if you're around, if you're doing your thing, if you're a well-rounded team, if you can outlast other teams, that's helpful. Like, Denver's good, but Denver don't have depth. That's why Denver don't go far, right? Like, there are things you can do to make your way up there. And there's a change in the guard just as far as like stars in the NBA are going right now. So I respect what Portland did in getting him and focusing on defense and just hoping that the offense comes and puts like so much on everybody else's head. But I also appreciate what Boston did in selling off their assets while getting value now, while people know their assets are not valuable. And that will transition us into this next trade, which was just announced right before this podcast started going on. I believe it's not like final necessarily, but that trade is a 3-team trade between Atlanta, Brooklyn, and Boston. Boston ships out Kristaps and a second-round pick to the Hawks. Terrence Mann and Atlanta's number 22 pick go to the Nets. That is the next Nets like 5th or 6th.
This round pick?
Yeah, wow. I think someone said they own 1/6 of the first-round picks in this draft. That is nuts, man. And then Georges Niang and a second rounder went to Boston. So you get off another injured guy who kind of caused you problems for taking up space on your roster, being injured while also helping you get to a championship. Kristaps, talent-wise, incredible. Health-wise, skeptical. Niang, he's a body. Like, he can give you fits. I know he looks like a meatball, but man, that dude can play a little bit. He reminds me a little bit of the guy that, if you've seen Along Came Polly, the guy who gets his sweaty ass chest all up in Ben Stiller's face, like that kind of baller.
That's not Louis Anderson.
It's not even a guy. It's just like a whatever guy. You know, I'm sure he.
I think you're right, Laz. Yeah, I think that is Louis Anderson.
It's so nuts. R.I.P. Louis, great guy, very funny guy. Worked with him a couple times. Funny dude. Great improver too on the cartoons I was with. But that trade is a big shift because Atlanta gets a floor spacing big, which they haven't had for Trey, who also plays defense. So if he's healthy, great. They give up their number 22 pick that goes to Brooklyn. Like we said, now Brooklyn has literally every pick that's not Cooper Flagg in the NBA draft. And Boston gets off this contract while getting a role player who might take over the Sam Hauser spot if they're getting rid of Sam Hauser next, who is another defensive liability. So, like, yeah, you lose some defense when you take on Simons, but you do bring on some defense, bringing in Niang. So how do you feel about that, Laz?
Yeah. So Atlanta was another team that's kind of like on my radar as competition for the Pistons coming into this season. I don't know if this trade does it for them, though, simply because at this point in his career, you can't rely on Kristaps to be healthy for a full season. And as like we just saw in Boston, even if you load manage him throughout the course of the regular season, you can't necessarily like rely on him to be healthy for the playoffs. Now, he wasn't hurt for the playoffs. He was ill. He was sick, right? He had like this mystery illness that was like causing him to like not play the second half of playoff games and stuff. So like maybe he gets that figured out. But even then, like that's just another point on the ledger for like we don't know how much we can trust this guy when he matters. But when he plays, he's going to be really effective for them. Trey never played with like they had a Okongwu shooting threes, but like Okongwu's not a floor spacer in the same way that like Kristaps is. Trey's never played with a big man like that, so it'll be interesting. They're building a defensive infrastructure around Trae Young, the kind that you would like to see for a guy who is as bad on defense as Trae has been. He tried more last year, but like
he gets steals. Little. I'll give him that. He gets steals. You know,
yeah.
And he is little. He's only got so much.
But yeah. So like when Kristaps plays, like yeah, this is really intriguing for Atlanta. But like other thing I will say is like I think this is like Atlanta's like shot, right? Like this is their addition. Like I don't know how much more cap space they have. I mean, like maybe they can do some stuff. Like you could trade, you could trade some stuff. They have Karis LeVert. They could trade or something like that. But like if their team is now just like Trey, Richesay, Dyson Daniels, Jalen Johnson, and like Kristaps. like that's an interesting team, but like that's a team I still think the Pistons can compete with, right?
Sure. Mickey, how you feel about that? You think they're
Definitely. Yeah, I love it in theory, like, but I was just looking at like Kristaps, like the how many games he plays and just the winning impact like doesn't seem to be there. Like if he couldn't do it with Luca, like could he do it with Trey? You know, like there's just I'm a little skeptical. I like the way that lineup that you just broke down looks on paper, but I guess they didn't give up all that much.
Yeah,
As a
that's the thing.
part-time Clippers fan, I totally forgot that
Terrence Mann is in
Terrence
Atlanta.
Mann was there. The Nets have just become the island of misfit wings at this point. They have so many, like they're just a way station at this point. But yeah, if he stays healthy and is like, you know what, like I need to lock in and like take care of myself and really like contribute on both ends, like that'd be amazing. Um, as like considering Cade is also just like a creator who we've never really seen with the stretch big, I'm like kind of jealous, but you know, I don't wish we traded for Kristaps. So
Yeah,
it could be an interesting proof of concept for them of like what Trey looks like with the stretch big. I don't know Kristaps's contract. I don't know how many years of that they just bought into, but yeah, I'm kind of meh on it in general. Like at least they didn't like, you know, mortgage the like all their depth by any means. Like I don't think man like was huge for them. I could be wrong. I was didn't watch a ton of Hawks games, but yeah, we'll see. Not as stoked about the fit and like practicality of it as I am on some of these other trades that we've talked about for the winners anyway.
it felt like to me just like kind of a move around of stuff. Like, yeah, you get the proof of concept, and if it works out, that should work out because Reese is tall. Dyson Daniels is good defensively. Jalen Johnson's sick, right? That dude's a friggin' tank. And Kristaps can space and play defense. So like, yeah, that honestly, that's a better like 5-out defensive team than the Knicks on paper when you like really think about it, right? If you like, you have it matched up, you have Cat versus Kristaps, you have Brunson and Trey, and then you have like the middle wing room essentially, and it's pretty even, honestly, in like maybe even a little bit better defensively for Atlanta. And Atlanta at least has continuity between those guys and the coach. And Quinn Snyder's a pretty solid coach. They always compete against Detroit. Those are some of the most fun games that we see year after year. It's awesome. I do kind of like it for them. For Brooklyn, I hear Brooklyn's trying to get like a move up to the lottery pick. Now they have all the picks in the world. Like I said, they can maybe make that happen. That's probably what they were looking to do, or like build more for the future. Who knows? And then for Boston, again, getting this body and you're getting off an expensive asset. So very like on the margins win move, I think, for all these teams involved, but like nothing that anyone's like, oh my God, it's going to make them a contender or something sick. It's a big trade if it happened 15 years ago, potentially. And some of these players aren't even in the league. But, you know, the Kristaps thing is just, it is what it is. I do want to shout out Danny in the chat. Danny says they want to bring up a question about Ben Seraph. I believe is a young player who's about to be drafted who plays in professional league, and his team is competing for the championship against Bayern Munich, a level above college league. What do you think? I'm assuming for the Pistons. So we'll get more into the draft in a little bit, but because we're here and Dan, you asked the question, let's answer it for you. Laz, how do you feel about Ben?
I've never heard of the guy. No shade to him. I do not know that man. But in my defense, that is not a reflection on him or his talent. That is a reflection on how little draft prep I have done for this season, right?
We haven't had any reason to, right?
Yeah, the Pistons have the 37th pick. Whoever they pick, I'm going to watch in Vegas and be like, okay, I like this guy, or like, okay, I don't like this guy. But with no first-round pick this year and like with the success of the team, their first-round pick would be in the 20s anyway. It's like, you know what? Like, I'm going to take this draft cycle off.
I'm really glad you said that, Laz, because I too have not heard of Ben Seraph, and I've been bad with I've watched some of Bryce's breakdowns, but he is not. I don't know if he's talked about him, Harry, but you've been digging your nose into the draft a little bit. Do you have any thoughts on Big BS?
Big BS.
Yeah, that's what they call him in FIFA.
In Israel. He's an Israeli basketball player. So if you're just asking for Israeli content to troll, how dare you, Danny? But just because this is one of the few Jewish-run podcasts
controversial
out here, but our religion is the blazing horse, as one would know. The only God has ever talked to us. Praise horse, praise horse,
praise horse.
But Ben Saraf is a hell of a playmaker and does play winning basketball. He's good. If the Pistons drafted him, I would not be upset. I'd be very, very happy. I think like the shooting is a question mark, and like there are other questions in this game. He was thought of very highly at the beginning of the whole like this draft process. I mean, like months and months ago, because he played so well in such like high level games, and he's doing it again. So he's like a player to watch. I wouldn't be upset if they had him, but if you're just trolling, how dare you? But yeah, we'll get more.
Seems like an earnest question. I'm gonna give him the
benefit of the doubt.
If you're commenting on the internet, you're guilty until proven innocent. I've seen the internet. I've been here.
Guard is up. Guard is. Yeah. We're all a little raw right now.
Yeah.
So off of that content, onto the final trade, I think that could be in this little area. This one's fun because this involves some former Pistons, both in the front office and in the court, as it were announced also slightly before the podcast started. We got breaking. The Pelicans are trading CJ McCollum, Kelly Olynyk, former Pistons legend, as we all know, and CJ, a Piston potential player that people wanted at the trade deadline last year, myself included. Though I'm very happy with Dennis, more happy with Dennis, honestly, than I thought I would be. To the Wizards for Jordan Poole, Sadiq Bey, and the number 40 pick. Laz, thoughts on that?
New Orleans is on purpose building an island of misfit toys, and I don't know how I feel about that. Right? I mean, Poole has more upside than a CJ McCollum, and Poole was, I think, better than I thought he would be, and better also than like you imagined he would be for Washington last year. He just needed a year to recover after the horrific events of Golden State, perhaps. So like the upside goes to New Orleans, but Washington is, again, like we talked about a little bit earlier with Portland. They're trying to do the whole like we get some like vets who know what they're doing in the building, teach these young dudes how to play. They have a lot of interesting young dudes in like Bub Carrington, Kaishan George, Alex Sarr. Who's the other kid? The other center
Bilal.
they have.
They have Bilal Coulibaly as well.
Oh, but the Alex Sarr.
No, it's a Vujicic, but not the Vujicic.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. And Bilal Coulibaly, like you mentioned. So like they have interesting and intriguing pieces, and they brought in Chris Middleton, who's like this very weird to see Chris Middleton in a Wizard jersey. Like for some reason I was watching Denver Wizards, and it was like this doesn't look right. This doesn't feel right. But they brought in Marcus Smart, who had one of his better games of the season against us, as I recall, just like tragically.
Pistons killer, I would say. Yeah, like historically, when he was with the Grizzlies, like just every time.
Pistons taunter as well. Him and Ron almost got into it.
Very much Pistons taunter, Marcus Smart. But Washington's like on the up and up, and so like this is interesting for them. New Orleans, like I don't know, man. Like Jordan Poole keeps your offense afloat when Zion can't play. But like otherwise, it's going to be like Jordan Poole, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy III, Zion, and like Misi. Like that's a really weird lineup. Like that doesn't feel like it's going anywhere. And if like Zion can't play, you're like really not going anywhere. And so, yeah, I'm not entirely sure what the thought process is like in New Orleans. I don't even know who they're going to like draft at 7 or wherever they're at.
I think that's right. I think they're in the top 10.
Yeah, they're at 7. Yeah, and so it's like because I'm not sure of their roster construction. It's like I don't even know what they like need. Right? Like is Zion still an interesting young guy to build around? Like is Trey Murphy? Trey Murphy III played a lot better last season after they put the ball in his hands. Like, is that something that's going to maintain itself, or are you overstretching him a little bit? Was this like the Mikal Bridges and Brooklyn Mirage scenario for Trey Murphy III, or was this like the beginning of something more? Right. So yeah, it's a very weird like mishmash of talent in New Orleans.
I do want to say though, Les,
Sad for Joe Dumars.
it's bad for Joe Dumars, but I don't think it matters what they need because Troy Weaver is involved with making the picks, and he don't care about what you need. He care about who good on the board, who he like on the board. Sorry to cut you off for that. I was holding on to this Troy Weaver, but he likes his boys. He got Sadiq Bey.
Nope,
He got his bay back. He got...
There should be a Troy Weaver R&B jam about his bay. Like that'd be such a sick ass track. Oh my god.
Reunited, dude. It's I mean, I'm glad for that. We're big Trey Murphy guys here. We both really like Trey Murphy, and Harry and I were like, I wonder he would probably give up everything for Duren, just considering how not that I'm like trying to get rid of Duren, but like we know what Troy likes.
Yeah. You don't have to do it, but like if you know that somebody loves this dude and someone's bad at making deals on top of it, you have to at least ask to see like what sort of value you can get. And we'll get more into Jalen Duren's value because I do think he is more valuable than all that. We were just talking about centers and like how they're not really that available, like reliable ones. And I think if anything, Jalen Duren proved he's like kind of a reliable center who can be important on a team and like effective in the playoffs. So good for him in that. I think he upped his value a considerable amount. But it's what I like about it for Washington and for New Orleans is a mess right now. Zion, outside of like the health, the scandal that he's involved in, his value is squat. It's absolutely nothing. So you can't trade him. There's nothing you can do to trade him. The most value you can get out of him is if you're willing to, if like, let's say you find out he's guilty of this act and that's horrible, then you just got to part ways with him because that's, super, super bad. But while you're going through all this and while I guess innocent until proven guilty at this point, or whatever, and because you're a fucking business and that's how business works, you just have to make the most of what you can get, and the most of what you can get out of him is on-floor production at this point. So then it's like, okay, what are my other assets? Who can I sell off? CJ's on an expiring. Do whatever you can for him. Jordan Poole's a point getter. Great, that's fine. That Herb Jones contract and that Trey Murphy contract are legit. So if you can work around that, great. But the team is a mess. Your hand is tied a little bit in that scenario. What I love about it for Washington is doing exactly what Detroit's done the last 2 years. They've got this plethora of young players. They have this great group of vets. You mentioned Marcus Smart and Chris Middleton, and now that you got CJ on that squad, that ain't bad. Like none of that is bad, and that's what was holding Detroit back a couple years ago. You get these good vets who can still play, who can teach people how to do it, and just like Detroit last year, these guys are on 1-year deals. They have $100 million of expiring contracts over the next season. That's not an exaggeration.
That's ridiculous.
That's nuts. What that allows you to do is have a lot of flexibility next year with not only what players you want to bring back, what young players you could potentially trade off and bring in on top of it, but you can really see how this team is working out. So if you're a Washington fan, I think this is actually a good trade for you and potentially a good, exciting year for you. I don't think you'll be as successful as Detroit was this year because maybe an anomaly, and also there's no Cade on that team. And Cade's, you could make an argument that he's a top 10 player in the NBA. You can make an argument he's a top 20 player in the NBA. Who knows? But like those are hard to come by. So it's been an interesting little trade season. So now the last transaction I want to talk about that doesn't directly involve the Pistons is Daniel Gafford signed a 3-year extension with the Dallas Mavericks, rumored to be somewhere between $54 and $60 million. He's a center on the market. He's a slammer. He's a flyer. He's a blocker. Les, how does that contract make you feel?
Yeah, between that contract and the Steven Adams contract, I feel a lot better about any potential. I feel better about the market for any potential Jalen Duren extension, right? They're still perhaps in the trap where like Duren doesn't have to sign any contract. He doesn't any contract extension he doesn't want to. But yeah, that's a solid number for Gafford. I think weirdly though, I think people are forgetting like Gafford's their backup, right? Like they're going to start Lively and AD and Cooper Flagg, which is a massive front line, by the way. But like, yeah, so $20 million a year for a backup center, like a good, valuable backup center. But like, again, at this point, like $20 million is 20 to 25 is still like starter money in today's NBA. And so I think $20 million for a backup center is like perhaps a little exorbitant, but he is definitely like one of the better backup centers like in the NBA. So it's a fine price for the player. It just is a little odd from like a roster construction standpoint. But like, Nico Harrison has never been a conventional GM. So there's that.
You can't be conventional if you want to bully the NBA into giving you the first overall pick.
Like, no, Harry, defense wins championships, don't you know?
Yo, I believe in it.
Hey.
Mickey, how you feeling about this Gafford money?
Yeah, I think he's a really solid rim protector. And I just like thinking about him and Lively, like they play similar minutes when they're both healthy. So like, yes, he's a backup. He comes off the bench, but they're kind of interchangeable in a way. And I agree. I'm interested to see how it affects the JD thing, if we'll even have a number for him. But I think there's a lot of teams who would love to have Daniel Gafford. It kind of sounds like he might be on the move. But either way, really love what he brings like on a rim protection and energy level. And I think he's 6'10". I think he plays bigger than that. He's scary in the paint. So I'm interested. Yeah, the center market is so wonky just between like Claxton and Zubac, and it's so context based. Like, yes, he took $20 million a year, but if he stays, yeah, he's a third big behind Ant and Lively, like, or Anthony Davis and Lively, like that. And plus you've got everyone else's money, like Kyrie money to think about. So like he understands the context in the same way that Zoo took the contract he did. I'm not saying they're the same, but yeah, it's so case by case though. Like I really don't know that it gives us any answers in terms of like what kind of number we can expect for Duren.
I will say this about Gafford. He was a starter for Washington when he came over to Dallas, and it was like kind of confounding. And like Mickey said, he does play like arguably starter minutes, even if he's not like a starter. And the way we're talking about like business, I think what every team wants is a floor spacing big who can also play defense, but they just don't exist. On our last podcast with Bryce, I guess maybe it was 2 podcasts ago at this point, but we went over that the options aren't there. Like you can give a floor spacer like Naz Reid, but he ain't a defender. Like it ain't that. Cat's not a great defender. They're just not there. Like Chet is. That's the unicorn, if you want to call it.
And Chet was not good offensively in the finals this year, right?
No. I mean, it took the last game for him to be like kind of what's up. So it's like, that's kind of weird. And then Miles Turner. So like 2 of the 3 unicorns were in the fucking finals. So yeah, of course everybody wants those, but they ain't around. I do think, and this is pure speculation, but I mean, if I'm thinking it, I have to imagine the kids and their parents are also thinking it. Young bigs have to be planning on being stretch bigs at this point. If you want your draft stock to go up, you got to be thinking about spacing the floor. So that might take a while for it to happen, but like until then, we got to work with the guys that are here, and some of the guys that are here ain't that great. And Gafford could be a starter on like, I don't know, 50% of the teams in the NBA right now. Yeah. So you give him that money, not because he's our backup, but because that's what a player of your caliber's worth. And if we're going to trade you, we need to get something back on top of that. That's like at that money. So it's not like
if the Lakers, I'm sorry to interrupt, but if the Lakers end up with Gafford, I'll be so pissed. That's just
depending on what they give up. I guess
that would happen. I don't, even if they give up Austin Reeves, I don't care. Like that makes them, plus he's got the chemistry with Luka. I would be so
I think at that point you have to call like collusion. Right, sure. Like somebody's got to step in and be like,
we've seen it before.
You guys can't trade me more.
Yeah, I know. There was that one off season where they got like Vanderbilt and a bunch of other people for nothing, and I was like, why are you letting them do this? By the way, we're talking.
Oh, go ahead. I was gonna say Nico's like, yeah, we traded Gafford for one of Rob Pelinka's very cool leather jackets that you zip up all the way. Like right here from Forever 21.
All the way up to the Adam's apple, so it's choking you.
Sorry to step on you with my fashion statement.
No, it's necessary. It's important to step on me with your fashionable boots. I think, by the way, we were talking about all that empty money that's going to be in Washington. I think we found our Jeremy Grant landing spot in a little bit. I think that they would definitely take on that plus assets or whatever. But if we can, now that we've talked about the transactions, I want to hear from you, Laz, because you were talking about the Orlando trade and the press conference with Trajan. and expressing like a little concern that they're it seems from his close to the vest like speech that they're going to pretty much run it back. Are you comfortable with that? Is that, what would you do if you were in Langdon's seat?
So no, me personally, like, no, I'm not comfortable with that. Simply because you have to take a look at the landscape and what other teams around you are doing to improve themselves. And you can't bring back everyone and expect the exact same results as you got last year. In addition to not being able to expect the exact same results you got last year, like the ideal scenario is that you improve, right? I know Trajan did speak about how they're expecting a lot of that improvement to come internally, right? And there's a very easy scenario in which that happens, right? You're talking about improvement from like Asar and Ron Holland and Jalen Duren and Jaden Ivey, and like getting a full season of Jaden Ivey. It's like, okay, we're a better team. Like, with that said, there's still very clear gaps on the roster, right? And if you go into the season without addressing those gaps in like some meaningful way, that doesn't make me, that doesn't give me the warm fuzzies like as we like head into the season. So I was a little disappointed, but I will say, like, you guys talked about this a little bit too, like Trajan says all the right things, unlike previous GMs and executives the Pistons have had. And so I get the sense that like he's not asleep at the wheel, right? If there's something that comes across at their desk that they'll be able to take advantage of, I feel like they'll do that. But I would have liked to sense a little bit more urgency from the team than I got from Trajan in that press conference.
Are there any moves that you'd be looking to make, or any guys that you'd be targeting if you were?
So the main things I think is you need to upgrade the Tim Hardaway Jr. spot, and a lot of people have said like, oh, like that's Jaden Ivey's spot, and like you're right, but in that case, like you haven't upgraded on Tim Hardaway Jr. You've just replaced him with Jaden Ivey, which means you still need to find a way to fill those minutes. So you got to figure out that spot. I talked about this with Bryce Simon and Amari on Pistons Pulse. It's like maybe that's like a Sam Merrill, maybe that's like a Jake LaRavia. Like, again, like then those two guys aren't like household names, and you're not breaking the bank for like Sam Merrill, right? But or even like a Sam Hauser, right? But guys who bring you that element of movement shooting that Cade in particular like needs in order to make the offense kind of go. And then you need a long-term solution at the 4 spot. I love Tobias. Tobias was great for the Pistons this year. He was great for the Pistons in the playoffs. He was much, much better than I expected. But he's in the final year of his contract, and he's like 32, I think.
32 or 33. I think he might be coming on 33 for next season.
So you need a long-term solution in that spot. Like I don't think, like, even if Asar Thompson like never shoots, like I don't think you can start him as a 4, right? We have seen the Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart like front court together. Like that wasn't it. So like we don't have to do that.
Malcolm McDowell's seen that in A Clockwork Orange. His eyes wide open, dude.
And like maybe Ron Holland's like that's Ron Holland's like role, but he's still real skinny, and he's still probably like 2-3 years away from that happening. So I think you probably need someone younger who also like has the same skill set as Tobias. Like maybe you'd like the sliders to be a little bit better in one direction, like a better defender or a better shooter, rather than like a kind of a jack of all trades like Tobias was. So at least you know what you're getting. But yeah, like those are the roles I'm looking to fill this offseason, Mickey.
You brought up 2 names at the 4. Jake LaRavia was one. What was the first one that you said before?
Sam
that?
Merrill.
Sam Merrill. Yeah. Do you have like a preference out of those 2? I can like tip our hat real quick. Mickey and I on our last podcast went heavy in on Jake LaRavia, and I'm kind of sold on that idea because he's cheap, he's young, he loves to play fast, he loves to shoot the 3, and he loves defense. Yeah, I saw this interview with him and Keith Smith and Trevor Lane, and that's he's like, I want to play on a team that's a contender. It's got a good mix of young and old players, and that pushes defense and plays fast. And I was like, yo, that's our squad. If you can get him on a cheap deal, that could be a potential player for the future for you. I'm not so sure about Sam Merrill. I don't really know. I've often joked on social media that he looks a little bit like Blake Silverman. Shout out to the pin down. But do you have a preference between those 2 dudes?
I think I would prefer Merrill out of those two, simply because like Laravia is bigger, and I guess like I wouldn't. He's a good defender, not a great defender. But he's a little bit more versatile than Merrill. But like Merrill has an elite skill, right? He can shoot the ball. Like that is he can shoot the ball at a high level. And to me, like if you're going to get a role player like that, it's always better to get like a guy who specializes, or at least is like good, is like great to elite at one thing. Like you can build rotations around him that accommodate or like help accentuate like what he doesn't do. But as long as he does the thing he's elite at, like you're good. And so I think I would rather have like Sam Merrill than LaRavia. Yeah.
Gotcha. I like hearing that perspective because we're LaRaved out. We're fully LaRaved. That interview, like Harry said, he was,
up. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're LaRaving.
We're LaRaving our engines, right?
Yeah, LaRaving. We're about it. We're
count that baby and a foul.
It's a little ska, it was clunky.
Yo,
but
shout out to Keep Khan, by the way, for subscribing to the show. Big ups.
Hell yeah. I love to see the chat aflutter. That's what it's all about right there.
We're up to 80 now, bro. Laz, you're getting the subscribers left and right here.
Appreciate that.
I do what I can, man. I do what I can.
Appreciate it. But yeah, no, I think I'm in this. I don't think we're moving off Tobias. It sounds like from everything like I've heard from Omari and everyone that just like the organization loves him, and it's not just the on-court stuff. Like it sounds like he can kind of stay as long as he wants. I don't know if that's like hard and fast, but like I agree with you, especially on the Tim Hardaway Jr. thing. And we've talked a lot about how he won games for us last season. It's not to say that he isn't great and doesn't have his like sliders, as you said, like he's got an elite skill, and that came in the clutch for the Pistons. But I think if anyone's like maybe wouldn't be a starter for other teams that I would like to see us replace with a starter, and like maybe it's Jaden Ivey, but they're not the same.
Yeah, they're not the same player.
Yeah, so I totally he doesn't have to be that kind of play that same role. But if we're still playing Tim Hardaway Jr. 20 plus minutes a game next season, that'll feel like a little bit of like, oh, we left something on the table there.
100%. I think it's bad news if that's the case. I mean, again, we do love Tim Hardaway Jr. Shout out to Tim Hardaway Jr. Shout out to Tim Hardaway Sr. for being such a good sport about letting us meme your face. And very, very stoic facial reaction from that man. Until we razzed him. I noticed after we razzed him about it, he was showing a little more emotion.
Cracking a grin here and there. Yeah.
So,
little smirk.
Good for him. So speaking of like player movements and stuff, and because we brought this guy up, and because Bleacher Report mentioned Detroit as a potential landing spot for him, number 2 on their list of potential landing spots for him. And I think also because he talked negative about Detroit, both before he was drafted and other times more recently. And also he was in the car with Jake LaRavia when they were on that interview, I noticed, which is hilarious. Bleacher Report had it that they proposed this trade for Austin Reeves that would cost Jalen Duren, the 37th pick, and Simone Fontecchio. Laz, would you do that trade?
So I think Austin Reeves is definitely like the type of secondary, tertiary playmaker that like would be fun next to Cade. Austin Reeves is really bad on defense though. Like that's a kind of a killer. But like you'd like to be able to like, okay, like we've got Cade, Austin Reeves, Asar, like in some defense, and like we figure it out from there. I can see why the Lakers might be interested in doing something like that. Like as we've mentioned, like they started Jackson Hayes for like 5 minutes and like never played him again in the playoffs. It's like they need big man depth like desperately. But if you trade for Austin Reeves and you don't give up Jaden Ivey, like what are we doing? That's a lot of guys who in Cade, Jaden, and Austin, you would have 3 guys who are kind of at their best with the ball in their hands or like acting very quickly, like after receiving the ball in their hands, and who I think aren't great defensively. Like Cade was fine defensively in the playoffs, which was good. But my thing has always been like, I would love to have a starting lineup construction where Cade is like very clearly the weakest defender in your starting lineup, so that he doesn't have to take tough assignments and you can hide him a little bit on defense so you can conserve his energy for the other half, for the other end of the court, right? And that'd be tough to do if you're starting Jaden Ivey and Austin Reeves like next to that guy. So ultimately, like, no, I don't think I would do that trade. I think maybe you pitch Rob Pelinka on like a Jaden Ivey, Austin Reeves swap. Like, this guy's going to be cheaper than what Austin Reeves is going to cost you in a couple of years. But yeah, like I don't think I would do that trade with Dern involved.
Bobby Buckets, former guest of the podcast, great guy, awesome
Oh,
dude.
Bobby Buckets.
Yeah.
Shout out Bobby Buckets. What's up, man?
Detroit BBB. Assuming they'd have to attach an asset to get rid of Simone's contract, feels like that's just equivalent of Duran for Reeves, and he would do that trade. I'm with you, Laz. I would not do that. I mean, I don't know if you're saying I would not do that trade necessarily, but like I for sure wouldn't. And it is specifically because of the defense. That year, 2 years ago, of watching, or I guess 2 years ago now, watching players who can only do one end of the floor made it 100% clear to me that is not acceptable in the NBA anymore. It just straight up isn't at this point. When you look at the Thunder, who just won, they do both ways. When you look at Houston missing out because they only do it one way, now they have a little bit more going both ways. They're going to be a threat. Indiana was better defensively than I think people gave them credit for on the whole. You need to be good both ways, especially if you're supposed to be on the floor as much as a secondary playmaker scorer is going to be. So, yes, I get the efficiency scoring is great. And yes, I get he can pass and he can shoot and he's smart with the ball. But if you cannot defend and we're giving up a big on top of it, Cade's favorite big in the league, according to Cade Cunningham, by the way, I'm out. I'm straight up out. When you are as fortunate as Detroit is to have such a large point guard who is your star, who can also play defense. Like you said, if you imagine if he's the worst defender on your team in your starting lineup.
I love that.
That's nasty.
It's the dream.
Fucking nasty. Do not sacrifice it for it. And I don't think they do it anyway, because I think Trajan values wings above everything. In his press conference, when we were talking about what players he wants to see in the draft, the first thing he says, there are wings we like here. He didn't say big. He said there are some bigs we have our eye on. He said they're wings. When he was in New Orleans, they drafted fucking wings. They got TM3. They got Herb Jones. I've said it for a long time. If he was the GM here, I still think he would have drafted Asar with the number 5 pick. It just makes the most sense to me. And there are wings in this draft that he could trade up for. And he didn't say anything about not trading. He hinted at trading up earlier. Who knows? There are wings that might fall, but like you could trade up for Nick Clifford. You could trade up for Rasheer Fleming. Rasheer Fleming, by the way, is huge and has a 7'5" wingspan. Sounds like another Pistons player who's doing pretty fucking good on the defensive end. Isaiah Stewart. Like,
I know Bryce would be happy about that.
Oh, for sure. We're on the same page about that whole thing. The dude can shoot threes and he's big and he's got an enormous wingspan. As a man who has an enormous wingspan, like myself, and was a short guy playing basketball, having a huge wingspan is low key so sneaky successful in basketball because people see your height and they assume they can go over you. It's a lot harder to judge the wingspan. If it's enormous, you're going to get steals, you're going to get blocks, you're going to get stops. It just helps out such a massive amount. So if you build the wings through that and don't worry about like acquiring a secondary like shooting guard, I'm fine with it. Don't give up the assets for it. Stick in this whole defensive mindset. Mickey, what are your thoughts on the whole thing?
Yeah, I wouldn't do it. The defense is a problem for me. The fact that he doesn't want to be here is a problem for me. Like I love, Laz, what you're saying about a world in which Cade is the worst defender on the squad, and I don't know if he's like that much worse than this guy. But again, just to bring it back to Trey Murphy III, like even if you were able to tempt Troy with Duran or Ivy or one of his picks, like particularly the Duran thing, just because we heard back then that he almost took him at 5, like he was that high on Duran.
Yeah, Troy Weaver loved himself some Jalen Duran,
rightfully so,
and
apparently.
some bigs in general. Yeah, and like look, JD's been great. I don't know if that's what the Pelicans need, but I don't know if the Pelicans know what the Pelicans need. So like that is a trade. Like I would trade Duran, Tech, and like a pick or two for Trey Murphy, because I just love the idea of Trey Murphy next to Cade. He's 6'8". He's 6'8", like I would say neutral to positive defender. Like he's not, like
all defense or
Sar.
anything. But
Right. He's not
pretty
Herb
good.
Jones.
Cheap ass contract.
Yeah, like 30
Cheap
mil,
ass
30 mil.
contract.
So like that to me, and like, look, that would still put us in a spot because Harry and I have kicked it around and like fantasized about this. And like, okay, so what do we do with the 5? And it's like, well, the dream would be to get Brooke Lopez in on a proof of concept, like short-term deal. But like, I don't know how we make that much. I mean, I guess if we offer him, like he's a free agent.
Yeah.
So that's the
Yeah,
dream.
at that point you start assembling some stuff, right? You call like Clint Capella and you're like, hey, like let's do some patchwork stuff. Maybe you say like, hey man, Troy, like we really like Eve Missy in New Orleans, right? And like that, like we're giving you a big, we need a big back, right? And you take that way. It's like maybe you're attacking the draft a little bit harder for a stretch big. In that, and like you're trying to go in that direction as well. So I can see like Trey Murphy III like makes more lineups make more sense. And so like there's roster constructions and trade constructions that like I can more easily like shape in my head if you're doing like a Duren for Murphy trade versus a Duren for Reeves trade. Which, to be clear, like I would not trade Jalen Duren for Austin Reeves.
Right. Great one on it. Also, Mark Harry in the chat. What up, Mark Harry? He says, I think the org wants stability, all caps. Happy you're not getting blocked out of the chat for that because chatbot sometimes does dirty shit like that. Wants stability around Cade and the other young guys. I get the sense that THJ is even a guy they keep around for that purpose. And I don't disagree with you, Mark. And I think that's the positive light. I'll look at this. Trajan in his first press conference at the end of the season said the word continuity like 3 or 4 times. And I do think that matters, especially for these young guys who've had new coach, new teammates. Get there, get stable, get comfortable with each other. Also, I guess you could call them a contender. Who knows, like really where they're at, just because the East is like kind of up for grabs and like, again, new teams every year. And you have a dude, you have a proven all NBA dude. Anything can happen if the rest of your team is okay. So continuity, stability, great. That's fine. I am kind of with you, Laz, on this thing, though. I do think it'd be nice to upgrade around the margins if you can, which is another thing that Trajan has also reiterated several times. Is like, we are looking to upgrade around the margins, which is fine by me.
Yeah, it's not even a knock on THJ. It's just the contract and the fact that it sounds like we're pretty locked into Tobias, who, by the way, stable as a table.
Right.
Like that's Mr. Stability, like was one of our best players in the playoffs. And just like, after the first little chunk of the season, like was just so important on and off the court for us. So I hear it, but that to me just feels like money wise and roster slot wise, like the area.
Right. That's why he's felt like the odd man out for such a long part of this offseason. All right, Laz, we've had you on for so friggin' long, but we got to have you on for the fun part. We're the goddamn blazing horse. We do fun shit on this podcast. And if you didn't know, and if you weren't already, and thank you to the people who subscribe, getting us up to 80.
Yeah.
Out here. Like, subscribe, give us that follow. It's so easy. All you got to do is click. We don't spam. We just do this podcast. We do sketches. I sang on the last podcast. It ain't great.
Pipes.
But it was that pipes.
No.
My wife, she was outside and she's like, "Were you fucking singing?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "You're making the dogs upset." And I was like, "I think I'm making you upset and embarrassing."
That's anything for the bit, baby. Anything for the bit.
Man, committed to the institution. But on this show, we do play games. We made a special game just for you. It's a game that many people are familiar with. Many people have played it. Maybe you're, maybe you're looking for love or just looking for romance at a party or something. You're trying to get things going on, or maybe you're just trying to break the ice. This is a game that they play in offices sometimes. It's a very fun game, but we're going to do it about specific Pistons players that Pistons organization members, I should say, that Mickey and I have done research on. This is Two Truths and a Lie. Transitions and everything.
Ooh,
look at this graphics package.
Let's
Here we go.
All right. So our first one, I'm gonna lace it up with our first guy here. Let me make sure I've got everything on clear. But he's our main man. We can't stop talking about him. We can't stop salivating. By the way, we'll get into this later. But this is our main guy out here. It is Cade Cunningham. So we got 2 truths and a lie out of Cade Cunningham. Laz, which one of these 3 things is the lie? Is it has the same birthday as Chauncey Billups, Mr. Big Shot? Oops, wrong button. His daughter Riley's middle name is Jiff. which is the same spelling as the peanut butter, or that he cuts his own hair.
Ooh, this is tough. I feel like the birthday is the lie.
Ooh, the birthday is the lie? Is it? Is it?
Is it?
It's not. His daughter's. He's not naming his daughter after peanut butter. That's crazy. I don't know.
It's so specific, though. I when we were coming up with these, I was like, "That's ridiculous."
Like, there's 364 other days it could be.
It's so crazy that it's Chauncey Billups. Like when I saw that, I was like, "Get the fuck out of here!" That's so cool.
Crazy.
All right, should we move along?
Yeah, let's move it along. Let's get off case.
You got a shot of redemption. All right. For number 2, we got what will hopefully be the starting 2 guard, Jaden Ivey.
All right, I got to lock in.
Lock in here. All right. First one. Growing up, his favorite player was Derrick Rose. Second up, he has a Dachshund and a Dalmatian. Third one, he had a bowl named after him at Chipotle.
Okay. I think the Chipotle thing is real. Like I that's in like the back of my mind. I like vaguely remember this. I'm like mentally going back through the IG posts. Like, have I seen the Dalmatian like in Jaden Ivey's life?
I'm sure you've seen the Lord in Jaden Ivey's life.
I have. And he's got adorable kids, right? I've seen the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go with the Dachshund and Dalmatian. As the lie.
All right. Did we make up that he's got these 2 puppies?
All right, let's.
It's not his favorite player.
No! His favorite player was Russell Westbrook.
Oh, that also tracks.
Oh yeah.
You know what though? I'm happy I got the Chipotle thing. Like I'm somewhere.
That's a good poll.
My like long-term memory. Like I'm glad that like stuck in there.
That's memorable. Yeah.
For me, that Chipotle memory was flushed down the toilet like every other Chipotle memory I've ever had in my life. Shout out to the E. Also,
when they stopped doing like the like wink wink nudge nudge like here's double chicken, like I was out. Like you can't, man.
Mickey, what were those dogs' names, by the way? It was Gigi and something, right?
It was Gigi and Teddy, I think. Yeah. They're adorable too. Yeah,
his wife named those dogs.
we gotta we're gonna do some research. I gotta dive deep, just in the DMs. Okay, but who named the dogs? Who named the?
Shout out Jaden Ivey.
I like that theory. Yeah, and the fam.
It's so funny. All right, moving on to the next one, and his huge, rippling, cascading muscles, his gorging pectorals,
just bulging vascular. Yeah, we loved Laz. Every time we watch Pistons games with other broadcaster, like on other teams' broadcasts, they can't shut up about Jalen Duren's body. They're just always like, "Oh, that's a man's body. He's 21, but he looks like he's 32."
Remember, like PG was like that on his podcast. He was like, "Yeah, I ran into that dude on a screen, and I was like, he's 19 years old. Like, what the hell?"
It's so wild how big a thirst trap this man is. It's so crazy. Like, oh my God, just distracting everybody. But for JD, who we all want to keep on the team, by the way, shout out JD, played an incredible playoffs. Which one is the lie here? Is it when he left college, he was on the dean's list with all A's? His favorite rapper is Drake, who fucked someone in Cade Cunningham's Crocs, according to that fucking line from his whatever. Drake, you interesting guy. Or was his favorite cartoon growing up SpongeBob SquarePants?
I feel like JD's not a Drake guy. I feel like JD is like an NBA young boy, like Young Thug kind of guy.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go with his favorite rapper is Drake, and like I'm just on principle. I hope that's the lie, right? Right?
Yeah, you're a Team K dad.
I feel better about handing JD $25 million a year. His favorite rapper is someone other than Drake.
Oh man,
it's on the list. That's on the list.
Oh my God! Thank God you are. Oh, I already hit it, but you are right. Indeed, his favorite rapper is not Drake. It is Lil Wayne and Lil Baby.
At the
Okay,
time of
yeah,
that
Lil
interview.
Baby.
At the
Yeah,
time of that interview, yeah.
yeah.
Great poll. Great poll. Instincts. Trust your gut. All
I,
right.
I had to write down this quote because it's so fucking funny. I got to clip that thing. All right, we're in.
Hilarious. All right, moving on to Asar Thompson. All right, which is the lie? At an open practice his rookie season, he sang 1,000 Miles by Vanessa Carlton in front of the home crowd. His best sport outside of basketball is tennis. If he could have any superpower, it would be flight.
He already flies. That's just easy.
That's true.
Huh. Okay. So I went to the open practice last year at the Wayne State Fieldhouse where they had Ron and Bobby sing, and that was actually pretty funny. But I don't remember if he sang Vanessa Carlton. But like that's a really good like rookie hazing song to make them sing. I remember I like have vague memories of like Sasser like actually having some pipes when they like hazed him a little bit.
He's a musical man. He's got rap albums though.
Superpowers, flights, tennis. I feel like the Thompson twins are like they're Jamaican. I feel like they're like volleyball dudes. So I'm gonna say his best sports outside of basketball is tennis is a lie.
All right. The true lie out of all this is
Jamie Lee Curtis. Oh, you should have trusted your gut. He can. It was
teleportation. Which
teleportation.
he pulled off in the playoffs with that fucking spin move that broke the internet. Just so crazy. So crazy. Yeah. 1,000 Miles. Shout out to White Chicks, I guess.
Man, I would hate to see like Asar like covering ground on a tennis court. That sounds terrifying.
I didn't expect that. But yeah, no, that was interesting to me. But yeah, he and Sasser are singing. You can look up the footage of them singing Vanessa Carlton because that was Sasser's draft class too.
Yeah.
Very fun hazing stuff. I'd share it, but I didn't set that up. I was busy setting all this other stuff.
That's okay.
My bad, y'all.
Yeah, too busy making this sick graphics package. God damn, Harry.
By the way, look at this picture of Asar. I pulled it off of one of his trading cards, but like that facial expression in the slam, that's just awesome. The only smiling picture of him I can find.
No more smoking dunks next season. That's the only thing. Is no more.
Can't have that. Can't have that.
Yeah.
I have such high expectations for him next season. He's my guy.
First real off season. First real off. Yeah,
he's
got the jersey. He's got the jersey hanging in the background.
I bought it after Summer League. As soon as that first Summer League game popped off, I was like, "This is the fucking dude, man. He knows ball. It's
like this is a guy whose jersey I want.
Mm-hmm. This is the man who's 20 years younger than me, whose jersey must hang off my back." What I did feel so gross when I bought it. I was like, I don't think I can buy any of these anymore. Nobody younger than me anymore. It's all so weird. Okay, we got a few people left. This one's not even a player. This is my guy. So happy he got brought in, even though I was skeptical of the hire. It's JB Bickerstaff. So, Laz, I got to know which is the truth, which is the lie. Is it? Was the interim head coach of as many franchises as Monty Williams was hired to head coach in the NBA?
So specific.
Is his favorite football team the Philadelphia Eagles?
I hope not.
Does he have a winning record in coaches' challenges over his career?
All right. So Monty has coached in New Orleans and here in Phoenix. And he was on the bench in San Antonio, but obviously like Pop's been there forever. So okay. So that's 3. JB has been interim in Houston. I think was he interim in Memphis as well? And then he was hired outright. He wasn't on Beeline's staff, right? He was hired outright after the whole Beeline debacle, if I remember correctly. I'm like doing math. This is terrible.
Your memory is incredible, though. Just like going over the
polls.
History here.
The polls are incredible.
Yeah. So, and Bernie, his dad, did he ever coach in Philadelphia? I don't think so. He coached in Charlotte for a long time. He coached in like Atlanta, I think. I'm gonna go with. I don't think his favorite football team is the Eagles.
That is the unfortunate truth.
Oh,
which is so
no,
wild.
JB, come to Ford Field, dude. Like we're gonna convert you, bro.
How could you not? How could you not prefer the line? I mean, outside of the Super Bowls, but it's wild to me. But he also was the interim head coach at Cleveland. Like just to go interim head coach, be successful.
Yeah, that's really odd. How many guys are successful as interims like 3 times over? That's wild.
It's insane. Like, and now he's successful here. Like he almost had as good a record here as he did in Cleveland. Fucking crazy. And his coaching.
He won like every challenge this year. How does he not have a winning record?
This year he was great. On his career, according to StatMuse, he's 299 to 324, I believe. It's very close.
Tight.
He was great this year. I thought he was great this year. And maybe a little bit brash in the playoffs.
There's a couple frustration challenges. There's a couple first quarter.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But 500 challenges. That's
six,
a lot.
Damn near 6 over his career, over an 8-year span. It's nuts. Good for him. All right, but we're on to our final one. And hopefully this one leaves you smiling. Nikki, why don't you
got this
in here?
This one is about none other than Trajan Langdon.
This is smooth.
Okay. He was the first Alaskan to play in the NBA. He was drafted in the MLB ahead of Detroit Tigers legend Placido Polanco. Had a relatively short relationship with Alaskan singer-songwriter Jewel.
These are some excellent factoids.
2 of them are.
And what a pull of Placido Polanco. I was literally like, when they were losing to the Rays earlier, and like Torres was doing like some stuff, I was like, I kind of miss Placido Polanco. He was like the platonic ideal of a second baseman. Right?
I love that dude. Like incredible batting average, dependable, never had errors. Biggest head I've ever seen in my life. I loved Placido Polanco. Like that thing was huge. Shout out to Placido.
All right. And in that spirit, I'm gonna go with he was drafted in MLB ahead of Placido Polanco.
That is the truth. He was drafted. He
Whoa!
never. Yeah, that's
He
crazy.
didn't date Jewel. They might have had a fling.
I was thinking that was like he's got game thing, right? Like you fly down from Alaska, they put you in Duke for the first time. She's like on campus, like
she's just in the van tailgating.
Power couple.
Tech you.
Absolutely.
He gets injured on her snaggletooth, can't play anymore. Redshirted as a freshman.
Exactly.
But yeah, man, you did a great job. Like the way you're.
It's harder than I thought. It was harder than I thought. Harry.
These are some good ass questions, though.
Finding the trivia on these dudes was complicated. Like,
that is a task for like the research department. So like, good on you.
Thank you. Yeah, we delved. We didn't dox, we delved, but
dove deep.
Laz, thank you so much for joining us on arguably the longest podcast we've ever had of this show. Sorry so much.
Yo, marathon. Thank you for sticking around.
I hope it's okay. I hope I didn't run you up.
No, you guys are totally fine.
Thank you so much, man. And like, do you have any, before we give you your last like shout outs and stuff, do you have any final predictions for what the Pistons do and how they end up this year?
You know what? The thing I will say is like, I bought season tickets for this next upcoming season. Got my little package going. Like, I'm not going to every game, but I'll be at a bunch of them. I fully expect to be at some playoff games come next March.
Hell yeah. Love to hear that in a tumultuous East Conference with teams on the rise and with Pistons potentially not doing all that much. But I'm right there with you. Follow Les. He's a great follow. He's very insightful. You saw him on the show. He knows it all. He's very into the team. He's at the games. He's been following for a long time. MSU grad, journalism grad, former Bonnie Buckaroo student. Shout out.
The degree sitting over there in the corner, not being used.
You
But
kept
I
that. You kept that paper, huh? You know how journalists value their paper. I feel that out here. But follow at Laz Chance against all social media. That's Twitter. That's Blue Sky. That's with the dot Blue Sky afterward and stuff. He's on the Pistons Pulse Fair Share. He's affiliated with Detroit Bad Boys. He's great. You have anything you want to promote other than that, man?
No, I just want to thank you guys again for having me. This is a ton of fun. I got to get the Blue Sky thing going again.
You should. It's a great community out there. Like the Blue Sky community for the Pistons in specifically made me feel so much better about social media in general. Like, yeah, the numbers aren't Twitter numbers, but that also means there are 1 million less anti-Semites and
and bots.
And bots.
Yeah, less bots is also good.
There's a lot of crossover though between the two.
Unfortunately, not as much pussy in bio, but there's everything else that you want.
I'm out.
So
Blue Sky's over.
Mickey, you got anything you want to promote?
I don't. I just want to thank Laz again, man. This was a blast. We'd love to have you back, play some more games, talk some more hoops.
For sure. I gotta redeem myself. I was like 1 for 6. I gotta redeem myself.
You're gonna bounce back.
You should also feel pretty good. I play these games sometimes, and I have a losing record, straight up worse than Placido Blanco's baseball batting average, without a doubt. It's definitely below the threes. Shout out to the man. Shout out to Laz. Shout out to all you for being here. And one last time, if you haven't, give us a like. Give us a subscribe. Give us all that stuff. Give us the follow. Some of you did, and we really respect you for getting this up to 80 right here. We're coming out every week. We'll be back next Thursday, and we close this podcast the same way we do every week, and that's by saying OOBH, the Order of the Blazing Horse acronym, aloud, because that is how a horse would say that. So from me, I'm Harry.
And I'm Mickey.
I gotta change this thing.